You're awake. Ah, it's been 2 months since the mid-journeys and the dollies took over humankind's ability to create. Oh, ever since the world's flipped upside down, everyone's got smooth skin, and 14 fingers, and a lack of soul in their eyes. Well, at least it's just me and my guitar. I guess AI hasn't taken away our ability to create music. Shit. Thankfully, this isn't our reality quite yet. But AI tools have emerged and promise to revolutionize the way we create. I mean, aren't they amazing? I can just type whatever I want and the robot does it. Oh, I want a cat going overboard in a ship made of dogs? Don't mind if I do. There's a wise saying that goes, there are no shortcuts to any place worth going. Thanks, Bev. I know that tools like Midjourney and Dolly are pretty cool. And, if you're a new artist trying to get into the field, you might be thinking, hey, you know what? Getting into art might be easier than I think. Well, not so fast here. We're going to try to explain why AI art tools might actually be harmful to newer artists, because sometimes relying on these tools could prevent you from building some core fundamental skills that, makes art art.
As a sidebar, AI art tools are trained on large data sets of art from artists who did not consent or are not compensated. Steps should be done to rectify this, but in the video, we're going to focus more on the practical reasons of why AI can be harmful to beginner artists.
Now, let's start with the most fundamental issue. By using AI art tools from the beginning, you skip the struggle and become reliant on the machine. An essential part of learning any skill requires failure and iteration. This is Josh. You can't get good at something without being bad at it first. For artists, especially beginners, struggling with composition, color theory, and form helps build your individuality. This is the stage where artists usually discover their unique style, the techniques they're drawn to, and the mediums they're actually interested in. These fundamental art skills are what build a solid foundation, and you need a solid foundation before you can actually start building anything with substance. Now, here's a clip of Feng Zhu, one of the founders of FCD, which is a prestigious school for concept art, talking about how fundamental skills is what separates amateurs from professionals.
And I use another analogy of students who are self-teaching who want to skip this, because we see, for example, on the internet, a lot of photo bashing, speed paintings, quick sketches, basically things that contain zero fundamentals. Now, to an amateur looking at this work, they might not tell it lacks fundamentals. But to a professional, we could see that within seconds, literally within a second, that this drawing is done by someone who is not trained professionally.
But with tools like Midjourney, so many decisions are made for you, like colors, anatomy, and even composition. So by skipping this essential phase of learning, it kind of just makes it harder for you to find your personal identity in any of the work you create. So this brings us to our second problem. Without those fundamental art skills we're talking about, it's kind of difficult to critique, customize, or improve upon your own work. Being an artist isn't just about making art. It's also having the ability to critically evaluate your own work. Artists are constantly evaluating the work of others, more often than not, evaluating their own work. They analyze details, identify weaknesses, and iterate to make their pieces more unique and better. AI tools don't really help you with the process. If you're beginning to use AI, you might find yourself stuck with whatever the tool spits out at you. Without foundational skills, you can't really tweak or edit anything to fit your preferences. The result? Soulless, uninspired artwork that just lacks originality or that personal touch. If you don't know how to guide the AI's results, everything just starts to look the same. I mean, look at this or this. I mean, don't even get me started on this shit on Facebook. Like, what the? Let's take this image, for example, that I generated in 2 seconds. The prompt was very simple. A pretty girl in a field of flowers. And it looks okay if you stand 5 feet away and squint. Other than that, it looks fine. While the image isn't horrible, there are a lot of small things that get lost in generation. For example, the size of her arms are a little too small compared to the length of her chest. Her collarbone is raised a little higher for some reason, and I mean, look at that smile. Oh my goodness. If a beginner were to generate this image with no knowledge of proportions, they'd probably chalk it off as good and ship it no problem, which can lead to bad habits. Okay, so we've done quite a bit of talking about how beginners probably shouldn't use AI, and that is true, but how about more experienced artists? Should they use AI? Is it useful? Sure, but we should probably take it with a grain of salt. Good artists don't take what the AI generates for them at face value. Instead, they use their existing knowledge of art fundamentals to refine the work. Often, they'll take the generated images into Photoshop and adjust any details or colors whatsoever until it meets their vision. So, is AI art art? Well, to dive deeper into this question, we interviewed an artist named Ivan who goes under the tag blvckart.ai. So the first thing we wanted to know is what inspires his work.
I'm a black person, and in media sometimes I don't get to see, my people and the enormous different shades of colors that we exist in, as far as like just different roles and different realms, even in like a sci-fi type of deal, like, because I knew that that would resonate with other people that are like me, that would see that and be like, wow, I've never seen, you know pictures of black figure skaters, like, or just anything that I've been doing.
We then wanted to ask him what he thinks when people say that AI art isn't art.
Partially they're correct, right? Because I wouldn't necessarily want to be lauded over someone who's like drawing a hand-drawn piece that takes some weeks, because I understand that, hey, that took a lot more effort than what I'm doing. But the prompt is a big piece of the AI. So it still comes from the creativity of the user. I've had so many people like say to me like, wow, that idea was really cool, etc. So I just think it's a different level of effort placed when you're doing it by hand, obviously.
But here's the big disclaimer. AI should be used with caution. Images generated by these tools often miss small details that can be hard to catch if you aren't an experienced artist. So, where does that leave us? AI art tools are pretty cool and even useful sometimes, but they shouldn't be a substitute for learning the fundamentals. What do you think? So, if you're just getting into art, consider following the basics. Pick up a pencil or guitar in this case, and practice your fundamentals and embrace your struggle. Try to avoid AIing your way out of problems, and remember, if you have a solid foundation, your art will be yours, unique, meaningful, and unmistakably human. Now, if you'll excuse me. All right. Whoops.